There are moments in life that seem ordinary on the surface, and yet beneath them, something powerful is quietly shifting. This is one of those moments. Somewhere in the silence between your thoughts and theirs, someone has reached a point where they can no longer hold back what has been building inside them. Your soulmate has been carrying words in their heart that refuse to stay hidden any longer. And if you feel a strange pull in your spirit right now, if your chest tightened the moment you saw these words, that is not by accident. Because the message trying to reach you carries an urgency that has been growing for far longer than you realize. They want to talk to you right now. Not later. Not someday when the timing feels perfect. Now. Because something inside them has finally become too loud to ignore. For so long they tried to remain composed, tried to act as if what they felt for you was manageable, explainable, temporary. But some emotions do not fade when ignored. Some connections do not weaken when denied. They deepen in silence until the heart can no longer pretend. And that is where they are now, standing at the edge of everything they have hidden, knowing they cannot stay silent much longer. What they need to say may not be what you expect. In fact, it may be more honest than anything they have ever shown you before. Because this is not small talk. This is not casual curiosity. This is the kind of conversation a person only seeks when their heart has reached a turning point. They have replayed your name in their mind more times than they would ever admit. They have wondered if you still think of them in quiet moments. They have searched for signs in ordinary days, hoping somehow the distance between you would begin to close. And now, something within them is telling them they cannot wait any longer. But here is what makes this moment so powerful. They are not only feeling urgency because they miss you. They are feeling urgency because they sense that if they stay silent any longer, they may lose the chance to tell you what truly matters. Let that settle for a second. Because people do not reach out with this kind of emotional intensity unless something inside them has changed. Unless clarity has finally arrived. Unless the truth has become impossible to suppress. And the truth they are wrestling with is connected to you more deeply than you know. There is a realization forming in them, a realization that your presence in their life was never ordinary. That what they felt around you was not random chemistry, not temporary fascination, not passing emotion. It was something rarer. Something that followed them long after conversations ended, long after distance grew, long after they tried convincing themselves to move on. Yet no matter where they turned, some part of them kept returning to you. Stay a little longer, because what happens next may explain everything. They have been asking themselves questions they once avoided. Why do you remain in their mind when others fade so easily? Why does your absence feel louder than anyone else's presence? Why does the thought of losing you completely create a fear they cannot explain? These are not casual thoughts. These are the questions people ask when their heart begins uncovering truths the mind tried to bury. And now, they are close to speaking those truths aloud. But the reason this feels urgent is not only because they are ready to talk. It is because they know that once they say what is on their heart, nothing between you can remain the same. That conversation will change the energy. It will shift the distance. It will expose feelings once hidden behind pride, hesitation, confusion, or timing. And part of them is terrified, because vulnerability at this level changes everything. Yet even fear is no longer enough to keep them silent. They are choosing honesty over hiding. They are choosing truth over delay. They are choosing you over the comfort of pretending nothing is there. And what they are preparing to confess has been building far longer than you think. Because this urgent conversation is not just about missing you. It is about the one realization they never expected to have. The realization that their heart may already belong to you more than they ever intended. And when they finally speak, the first words may leave you speechless. Because what they are about to admit begins with something they should have said long ago. And that is where the next part begins. The words they have been holding back do not begin with uncertainty, they begin with a confession. Not polished, not rehearsed, not perfectly planned. But raw, honest, and impossible for them to hide any longer. When they finally speak to you, the first thing you may notice is not the words themselves, it is the emotion behind them. The trembling truth of someone who has reached the point where silence hurts more than vulnerability. Because what they are about to reveal is something they have fought within themselves for longer than you know. They are going to admit that no matter how much time passed, no matter how much distance tried to grow between you, they never truly stopped feeling your presence in their life. They tried distracting themselves. They tried staying busy. They tried convincing their own heart that whatever they felt for you would eventually fade if left alone. But every attempt only led them back to the same realization: you were never temporary to them. You were never just someone. You became the thought that returned in quiet moments. The memory that stayed when everything else moved on, the connection they could never fully explain to anyone around them. And that realization has unsettled them more than they expected. Because there comes a moment when a person understands they are no longer simply curious about someone, they care in a way that changes them. They begin measuring every other connection against the way you made them feel. They begin noticing how rare it is to find someone whose energy lingers even in absence. They begin realizing that some people enter your life not to pass through it, but to mark it forever. That is the truth your soulmate is facing now. Don't skip this part, because the next realization is even deeper. They are beginning to understand that what frightened them was never the connection itself, it was how real it felt. You awakened emotions in them they were not prepared for. You made them feel seen in ways they had never experienced before. Around you, they could not hide behind masks as easily. They could not pretend indifference. They could not remain emotionally untouched. You reached places within them they had kept guarded for years, and instead of understanding that as something beautiful, they first mistook it for something dangerous. So they pulled back. They hesitated. They became quieter than their heart wanted to be. Not because they lacked feelings, but because the depth of those feelings caught them off guard. And now? Now they regret the distance their fear created. They regret the words they never said. They regret the moments they let pass while hoping time would somehow fix what silence only complicated. Because the truth has finally become undeniable, losing the chance to be honest with you feels far worse than the fear of being vulnerable. That is why this conversation feels urgent to them. That is why they cannot wait anymore. Because they know some opportunities in life only knock once. And they refuse to let this connection become another "what if" they carry forever. So when they come to you, understand this is not casual emotion speaking. This is the voice of someone who has wrestled with themselves in silence and finally chosen truth. Someone who has spent nights wondering whether you still feel the same invisible pull they do. Someone who has imagined what might happen if they finally drop their pride, and simply tell you everything. And what they want to tell you next is not just that they miss you. Not just that they think about you. Not even just that they care for you deeply. No. What they are preparing to reveal is far more personal than that. Because hidden beneath all their hesitation, beneath all their silence, beneath every unread emotion and unspoken moment, there is one feeling they have been terrified to name. A feeling so powerful that once spoken, nothing between you will ever return to what it was before. And when they finally say it, you will understand why they needed to talk to you so urgently. Because the next words from their heart may be the ones that change everything forever. And those words begin in the next part. What they are about to say next is the sentence they have replayed in their mind 100 different ways, and still, none of those rehearsals made it easier. Because some truths carry so much weight that even speaking them feels like stepping into a completely new life. They have stood at the edge of this confession for what feels like forever, wondering if they should protect themselves by staying silent, or risk everything by finally telling you the truth. And now, with their heart louder than their fear, they are choosing the truth. They are ready to admit that what they feel for you has grown beyond attraction, beyond curiosity, beyond the kind of emotion that simply fades with time. What they feel has become part of them. It has woven itself into their thoughts, their routines, their quietest moments. You became the person they compare everyone else to without meaning to. The person whose absence taught them your presence mattered more than they ever understood while they still had easy access to it. And once they recognized that truth, everything changed. Because suddenly they were no longer asking, "Do I like this person?" They were asking, "Why does my heart keep returning here no matter what I do?" That question has led them to one answer they can no longer deny. They have fallen for you more deeply than they planned. And perhaps the most overwhelming part for them is this: falling was never their intention. They did not plan to care this much. They did not expect your energy to affect them this strongly. They did not anticipate that one connection could shake their emotional world so completely. But sometimes the most life-changing bonds are the ones that arrive without warning. The ones that bypass logic and settle straight into the soul before the mind can make sense of it. That is what happened with you. And now they need you to know. Stay with this moment, because something even more vulnerable is rising. Their confession is not only about love, it is about regret. They regret every moment they made you question their feelings. Every mixed signal. Every delayed response. Every time they acted detached when inside they were anything but calm. They know their silence may have confused you. They know their hesitation may have made you wonder if the connection was one-sided. And if they could go back, they would rewrite those moments differently. They would be braver sooner. Softer sooner. Honest sooner. Because now they understand something painful but beautiful. When someone truly matters to you, pretending not to care becomes its own kind of suffering. That is why they are no longer trying to appear unaffected. No longer pretending distance solved anything. No longer hiding behind timing, circumstances, or uncertainty. They are coming toward you with their heart uncovered. And the reason this is so urgent, the reason they needed to speak now, is because they sense your energy shifting too. They feel that you are reaching a place where you may stop waiting. Stop wondering. Stop leaving the door open. And the thought of losing the chance to tell you how deeply they feel before that happens has become unbearable to them. So they are taking the risk. They are stepping forward. They are choosing to tell you the words they once feared most. That they do not simply care for you. They want you. They want your presence in their days. Your voice in their quiet moments. Your energy in the life they are building. But even that is not the full truth. Because after they confess what they feel, after they reveal how deeply you have touched their heart, there is one final thing they will ask you. A question so vulnerable, so honest, so emotionally exposed, that your answer may determine everything that comes next. And that question begins in the next part. After everything is laid bare, after the confessions, the honesty, the trembling truth they can no longer contain, there will be a silence between you. Not an empty silence, but the kind that carries the weight of two hearts standing at the edge of something real. In that moment, they will look past every fear, every past misunderstanding, every delay that once kept them quiet, and ask the question they have been afraid to voice for so long. They will ask if there is still room for them in your heart. Not in a casual way. Not as a passing thought. But with the vulnerability of someone who understands that this answer could heal them. Or break them. Because after all this time, after everything they have carried in silence, what they need most is not simply to confess, it is to know whether the connection they have felt so deeply has been living in you too. That is the real urgency behind all of this. Not just speaking their truth, but discovering whether your heart still remembers what theirs never forgot. And if you have felt it too, if there were nights when their absence felt louder than expected. If there were moments when their name entered your mind without warning, if some quiet part of you always sensed this story was unfinished, then understand what is unfolding here is not random. It is the return of a conversation that was delayed, not denied. A bond that paused, not ended. A truth that needed time before it could fully surface. Because sometimes people need distance not to lose each other, but to understand what losing each other would actually mean. That is the lesson they have learned. They needed the silence to hear their own heart clearly. They needed the distance to realize who they were still searching for in every room. They needed the almost lost to understand your value. And now, standing in that realization, they are hoping, quietly, desperately, that your feelings did not disappear while they were still finding the courage to speak. But there is one more truth they need you to hear. This conversation is not only about what they feel now. It is about what they see ahead. Because when they imagine the future, when they picture peace, joy, partnership, meaning, your presence appears there more often than they can explain. Not as fantasy. Not as wishful thinking. But as a vision their heart keeps returning to, again and again, no matter how much they try to think practically instead. You have become part of the future they secretly desire. And that realization changed everything. So when they tell you all this, when they ask whether there is still hope for the two of you, understand that this is not temporary emotion speaking. This is someone offering you the most unguarded version of themselves. No mask. No performance. No pride left to protect. Just truth. And the truth is simple. They do not want another almost. They do not want another missed chance. They do not want to keep wondering what could have happened if they had just been honest sooner. They want clarity. They want possibility. They want to know whether the door to your heart is still open, even slightly. Because if it is, then what follows this conversation may be the beginning of something neither of you will ever forget. And the moment you answer them, whatever your answer may be, will set into motion the next chapter of a connection that was never as finished as it once seemed. But what happens after your response? What they choose to do next may surprise you even more than their confession did. And that is where the next part begins. The moment your answer reaches them, everything inside them changes. Whether your response comes in words, in silence filled with emotion, or in the softness of your eyes, they will know. They will feel instantly whether the hope they carried was real, whether the bond they never stopped believing in was still alive within you too. And if your heart gives even the smallest sign that the door remains open, they will not hesitate again. Because once someone nearly loses what matters most to them, they stop playing games with timing. They stop pretending they have endless chances. They stop waiting for someday. That is exactly where they are now. If they sense that your heart still holds space for them, then what follows will not be half-hearted. It will not be confusing. It will not be the same uncertain energy you once knew from them. No, this version of them is different. This version has learned what silence costs. This version has felt what distance does when the person you love begins slipping further away. This version understands that real feelings require real courage. And because of that, they are preparing to pursue you with an honesty you may have never seen from them before. They will begin showing you what words alone could never fully explain. Consistency where there was once hesitation. Effort where there was once distance. Warmth where there was once restraint. Because they know love is not proven in one dramatic confession, it is proven in what someone does after the confession ends. In how they show up. In how they remain. In whether their actions match the depth of what they claim to feel. And they want their actions to leave no doubt. Stay with this, because the deeper truth is only now revealing itself. What they feel for you is no longer just about emotion. It has become intention. They are not speaking because they wanted a fleeting romantic moment. They are speaking because they have begun imagining what it would mean to truly build something with you. To move beyond longing and into reality. To stop dreaming about what if and start creating what is. That thought excites them. And terrifies them. Because real love asks more from us than fantasy ever does. It asks for presence. Patience. Maturity. Commitment. And for the first time, they are not running from that. They are stepping toward it. Toward you. But here is what they may not say out loud immediately. The reason they are moving with such urgency now is because they believe this connection was never meant to remain unfinished. Deep down, they feel that whatever brought you into each other's lives did not do so casually. There was purpose in it. Timing in it. Meaning in it. Even the delays. Even the misunderstandings, even the silence between chapters served a role. They shaped both of you into the versions of yourselves capable of meeting again with greater honesty than before. So when they reach for you now, they are not reaching with the same heart they once had. They are reaching with a wiser one. A humbler one. A braver one. And what they are hoping, perhaps more than anything, is that this is not simply a reunion. But a beginning. A real one. A deeper one. A chapter where neither of you has to wonder anymore. Because after all the waiting, all the confusion, all the unspoken emotion, they are ready to stop imagining a life with you and start asking if you are ready to build one. What happens next between you may unfold slowly, beautifully, unexpectedly. But one thing is certain. This urgent conversation was never just about confession. It was the moment everything hidden finally rose to the surface. The moment fear lost its grip. The moment two hearts stood face to face with the truth. And if this connection is as real as they believe it is, then what begins after this conversation may become the very story both of you were always meant to step into. And once that truth is spoken, once both hearts stop hiding and the walls finally begin to fall, something extraordinary starts to happen between you. Not all at once, not in some rushed dramatic moment, but quietly, steadily. Like dawn arriving after a night that felt endless. The connection between you begins transforming from unanswered tension into something tangible, something you can finally feel taking shape in real time. Because when two people stop pretending they are unaffected, everything changes. The conversations become deeper. The silences become softer. Even the smallest interactions begin carrying meaning they never held before. What once felt uncertain now starts to feel intentional. And that shift will leave both of you wondering one thing. Why did it take so long for this to happen? But the answer is simpler than it seems. Because not every love enters your life to bloom immediately. Some connections arrive early, then wait. They wait for healing. They wait for growth. They wait for both hearts to become ready enough to hold what they once would have mishandled. And perhaps that is why this bond survived every pause, every delay, every unanswered moment. Because what is real does not always disappear when it is postponed. Sometimes it deepens in the waiting. That is what your soulmate has come to understand. They no longer see the past distance as proof the connection failed. They see it as proof that even time could not erase what was meant to return. Let that sink in. Because many people feel attraction. Many people feel temporary excitement. But very few people experience a connection that survives confusion, silence, pride, fear, and still finds its way back to the surface stronger than before. That is rare. That is why this feels so significant. And now, with their heart fully open, they are not only hoping for your love. They are hoping for your trust. Because they know feelings alone are not enough. They understand that if they hurt you through hesitation, if their silence made you doubt your worth, if their inconsistency created wounds where certainty should have been, then rebuilding will require more than emotion. It will require patience. It will require them proving that this new version of them is not temporary. And for perhaps the first time in their life, they are willing to do that. They are willing to earn what they once risked losing. Because now they understand something profound. The right person is not someone you merely desire. The right person is someone you become better for. And loving you has changed them. It has made them confront themselves. Grow. Reflect. Mature. It has forced them to become more honest than they ever planned to be. And whether they say it directly or not, part of what makes this conversation so emotional for them is knowing that you transformed them simply by existing in their life. You made them feel more deeply. think more clearly, want more sincerely. And that is why this is not just another romantic confession to them. It is the acknowledgement of a connection that altered the course of their inner world. So if you have felt the same quiet knowing, the same unexplainable pull, the same sense that something about this bond has always been unfinished, then understand this. You were never imagining it. You were feeling the truth before it had words. And now those words have finally arrived. The masks are gone. The distance is breaking. The truth is no longer hidden. And what comes after this may not be perfect. It may require healing, patience, and trust rebuilt step by step. But it will be real, honest, earned. And perhaps that is why this urgent message had to reach you now. Because your soulmate did not come to offer another almost. They came to offer the truth. And if both hearts choose courage from here, then this may be the moment your story finally stops being a question and starts becoming an answer.